What black market did kids at your school run? Story 1. I was a Pokemon card smuggler. In 6th grade, my friend's dad overheard my friend and I talking about how much our Pokemon cards were worth. He was shocked to learn some were worth $10 to $20 a piece. He made the comment, "Shame they won't be worth that much when you go and sell them." That comment stuck with me. And a few days later, I started selling my cards at school. I made a list of everything I had with prices next to them. I'd pass the list around during class and kids would meet up with me between classes to buy what they wanted. I was making crazy amounts of money for a middle schooler, and before long, parents were complaining that their kids were skipping lunch because they were spending their lunch money on Pokemon cards. So the school banned them, but I still had a good bit of inventory to move. I did all kinds of things to avoid getting caught. I hid cards in a box of crayons. I put a few sheets of sleeves in the middle of a binder full of legit notes. I even hollowed out an old textbook to hide all my cards. Despite getting searched 3 to 5 times over the next few weeks, my cards were never found, and I was able to sell all of them before Christmas break. I ended up making close to $800 and was able to buy my entire immediate and extended family Christmas gifts with my own money for the first time. Once all the other kids learned how much money I'd made, they were blown away and suddenly everyone was selling their cards. Problem was, no one was buying them anymore. Wow, that is an absolute scandal, isn't it? I do remember the importance of Pokemon cards though. Everyone went crazy for a Pokemon card. And Yu-Gi-Oh cards. Remember Yu-Gi-Oh cards? And all the boys loved those, like, football cards that used to stick in a sticker book. Can't remember what they were called now though. What was it for the girls? Well, Yu-Gi-Oh was a thing for girls as well, but I mean, like, what was it for the girls? I think it was those, like, those digital things. They were like blocks that they connect together and you can play. What were they called? Can anyone remember? Story 2. I was in elementary school when Pogs were big. Everyone had cool slammers and stuff, but I didn't have money for good ones. My dad made one out of half-mild steel for me and used an engraving pen to make a simple pattern. Everyone was asking me where I got them from. I didn't want to lose my unfair edge, but I also knew I could make money. My dad had a big sheet of his half-steel. I told them I was the only one who could get them. I sold them for $15 a pop. My dad kept 10 and I got 5. And that's when I learned what overhead was. Your family life sounds fun. Yeah, your family life does sound fun. That's actually jokes that your dad got involved as well. We love that from the dad. Start your kid off as a young hustler. Like, it's the only way. Story 3. I went to a private high school with a strict dress code, okay? So it was like ties and belts, etc. So I bought a bunch of ties and belts from a thrift store and ran a lucrative rental business out of my locker. Rent a swag. Story 4. A kid in my school used to sell stupid amounts of corn tapes for $10. We found out later that his dad had paid for some corn channels, and I guess he never noticed his son had them open in his room. He would buy empty tapes and just hit record until the tapes were full. I know I bought at least 10 of them. This was in the 90s. That guy was making a huge ton of money. He would bring a backpack full of tapes almost every day, right, and leave school with it empty. Easily, he was making $200 a day when he emptied his bag. Man, it's hard to go back to minimum wage after that type of income. Okay, gang, what age are we talking here? Because, like, if this guy's bringing in corn, like, how old are you guys? Because I was thinking, like, primary school years. So you're like, how old are you in primary school? Like, 8 to 10, maybe? Like year 5 and 6. And we wouldn't be bringing in corn then. Trust me, I didn't know what corn was at that age. Like, I thought babies fell from the sky at that age. Do you know what I mean? So we're obviously talking about secondary school scandals here, yeah? Story 5. Locker accessories such as carpets and magnets. Story 6. Used to crush up warheads and mix them with sugar. Sold them by the straw with the ends melted. 50p a piece. Hey kid, want some death sticks? Story 7. I used to sell Coke, the drink, because they didn't allow fizzy drinks to be brought in. Pablo Frescobar. Okay, when you said Coke, I was like, please don't tell me you were talking about primary school kids. I mean, first one's selling corn, next one's selling Coke in school. Like, where are you retrobates from? Do you know what I mean? Nah, I'm joking. Fizzy drinks. That's an old chestnut, that one. An old chestnut. Were they Panda Pops? Or are you from America? Story 8. I have family in New York and would go visit a couple times a year back in high school. Every once in a while, we'd visit Chinatown in New York City, and I'd end up buying $100 worth of fake watches. Rolexes, tags, Gucci's, etc. to return to school and sell them for double what I paid for them. A lot of people still do this. They fly off to China, buy cheap knockoffs, and sell them for a huge markup wherever they're from. It's big business here in the Philippines. Story 9. I don't know if this counts, but me and my brother would take money to beat all the challenges in GoldenEye 007 for N64. So people got all the cheats. The invincibility challenge was the toughest. Story 10. At my school, they took all the sweets out of the vending machines and replaced them with healthy snacks. In the local town, there was a sweet shop where you could buy a kilo of mixed sweets for £5. So every week, I would go there and buy £1 of small paper bags and spend the Sunday night before school repackaging them all, ready for the week ahead. Come Monday, I'd go into school and load my bag up every day selling the bags for 50p. G-rated version of repacking and selling drugs. I'm sorry, you had vending machines at your school. Where on earth were you hatched? Do you know what I mean? I was hatched on English soil and we definitely do not have vending machines at our school. Oh, how the other half live, hey? How the other half live. What sweets were in that vending machine? I'm really curious. So if anyone's listening that had vending machines at their school, what was in those vending machines? Because I'm not going to stop till I find out. Cheese? Can you hear me? Story 11. Cuban sandwiches straight out a duffel bag before school. They were bomb. Cheap and way better than the lunch in the cafeteria. Story 12. Apple laptops in middle school. Some had iTunes and some didn't. And the kids wanted it, so apparently I was the only one who knew how to transfer the installer with my USB. I put it on everyone's laptop for gifts and favours in return. Got caught by the sub that day. I told her it was my flash drive, I could do what I wanted with it. And that's how I got my second detention of my life. Story 13. The only guy in the school whose family had proper TV channels used to tape wrestling events and rent them out. Okay, I can't lie to you. That's genius. Because a lot of people when I was younger didn't have Sky, and the people that had Sky were like the upper class people. So that is actually genius. How much were you selling them for, I wonder? That's the real question. Not enough, I think. Not enough. But this kid sounds like an entrepreneur. I bet he's grown up to be like the owner of a huge business. Story 14. My school used the metallic ends of pencils as a currency. Bronze was the rarest, so it was the most expensive. Green was most common, so it was the least. We traded for erasers or pencil cases or a spot up in the Foursquare line. Eventually got banned, but we still operated with people acting as banks to keep the currency hidden and keep transactions hidden. Story 15. The swim team or something was selling these fundraiser lollipops, right? And they were insanely popular. I found the website on the wrapper and discovered I could buy my own, way cheaper. I could also buy only the popular flavours. So, I had only the best flavours, and I could undercut the actual fundraisers by a quarter, still making over 100% profit. I quickly became a top seller and made bank until the copycats started popping up. Oh, my love. You will never be able to get rid of these copycats, honestly. Like on TikTok, for example, I'll see one video, okay, that I think, that's quite funny, actually. I rate that. 2 days later, my whole FYP page is someone doing the same thing. It's like, peeps, get some originality. Do you know what I mean? Do something different. Get a bit out of the box. You losers. Story 16. Silly bands. I remember a kid made like $50 one day. Story 17. In high school, this guy sold socks in the hallways. I'd ask why there was a market, but I'm not sure I want to hear the answer. Story 18. These little game coupons that our teacher gave out for winning class quiz games. Right when people were starting to get scanners and printers in their own homes, some kid made copies of his coupons and sold or traded them to other students. And that's how you first learned about inflation. Story 19. Our school didn't have candy, so I started buying huge bags of pixie sticks and sold them for like 25p a piece. Then I got caught. This was middle school, so drugs and all that excluded. Okay, guys, so middle school. Is that secondary school in America? I'm guessing it is. Because we've got reception, like nursery, reception, primary, secondary, college, university. So what do you guys have? I know you've got kindergarten. I think that's infants here. Middle school, that must be secondary school. Juniors? Do you have no, we have junior. Junior school is the same as primary, essentially. I need to know. Someone unfrick my brain, because I've got myself in a muddle now. Story 20. When I was in 6th grade, a teacher sold candy in between classes and marked up rates. A student decided to undercut her. That put an end to all candy sales. Story 21. Nintendo games. Some kids sold them off for like 10 or 15 bucks a pop. I don't know where he got them from, but he said he just told his dad what he wanted and his dad would get it for him. He'd ask for the same ones over and over and it didn't matter. He'd end up with 5 copies and he'd just sell 4 of them. Either the kid was the most spoiled brat in history, or his dad was straight up stealing them anyhow. Anyways, I could never get any. I had a Sega, but I remember that kid making a killing in grade 3. Or he was straight up stealing them. I'm sorry, 3rd grade? Isn't he a bit too young to be doing that? I swear I've lost all memory of being a kid, but that just sounds so young to me. But then I suppose when we were younger, we would get up to things like that anyway, but I don't know, 3rd grade? Is that year 3? Because that is a very ripe old age, let me tell you that. You should not be selling games at that age. Story 22. I had the principal's secretary's handwriting down and used to sell hall passes for $1 each. Made a killing. Story 23. MP3s and CDRs were just becoming available. A guy I knew made a killing on mixed CDs. Every week he circulated forms to fill out where you selected the songs you wanted on the CD. The newest hits were on the top and changed weekly. The rest of his library filled the rest of the form, and there was a space for requests. He'd deliver your disc the following week. He seriously made bank for a couple years until everybody started getting their own songs from LimeWire or whatever. I don't know what he's doing now, 20 years later, but I don't doubt he's successful. I had 2 brothers in my school who did this in 7th and 8th grade. They were the only ones with a CD burner and they crushed it, $5 a pop. And a lot of times they'd just burn whatever rap was popular or rubbish they both liked. But at the time, I especially had no other access to that rubbish and we didn't have cable TV or high-speed internet, so it was a hot commodity. Guys, I honestly can't think of what was going on at my school. Genuinely, for the life of me, I don't think there actually was. Were we that boring? No, we wouldn't have been. I remember people would sell cigarettes for 50p a pop. I remember that, but that's really the only thing. I don't remember anyone burning CDs, selling games, or anything like that. Not at all. I'll have to have a think and get back to you. Story 24. 2 years ago, I was a sophomore in high school, and freshmen weren't allowed to go off campus, but everyone else was. So I'd take orders, go to the local fast food shops and get the goods. I'd up the price by about $2 and ended up making about $200 a month. Story 25. It's not anything bad, but we had a black market for food and another for birth control pills. Story 26. I would buy 6 packs of soda for $1.79 and resell the 6 sodas for a total of $3. Story 27. Slap bracelets. Small southern town with just a Walmart and 1 or 2 small clothing stores that carried them. Anyone who went out of town to do clothes shopping or because their parents worked there would come back with bracelets we couldn't get here. So a little black market popped up. Okay, I was just chatting with my partner about this because I can't believe I can't remember anything that happened at my secondary school like this. But anyway, he said that loads of people used to sell sweets at his secondary school. So they'd go to Booker's, it's called in the UK, which is where you can buy loads of different things in bulk. So they'd go to Booker's, buy rainbow drops in bulk, chewing gum, the best sweets you can think of, and then sell them at school. But also he told me that his friend was selling sweets, and then someone else was on his turf selling sweets the next day. So he went up to his sweet box, kicked his sweets all over the place, and the guy never returned again. He never sold his sweets there again. So he was scared off. But yeah, I still can't think of anything that happened at my secondary. Story 28. Cinnamon toothpicks were all the rage in grammar school. Same at mine. We had a guy who was selling them for 25 cents a pop until the teachers finally shut down his business. Story 29. Banana chips were 25 cents in the vending machine in middle school. I always went to school early, so I always ended up buying all of them and selling them for 50 cents a bag. This is one of my favourites out of this whole thread. Simple and effective. Story 30. I know people at my school sold weed and pills and got busted. 20 people got expelled. Story 31. Some kids made a habit of stealing chalk when the teachers weren't looking. After a while, they started selling it, charging more for longer and fresher sticks. It ended when someone eventually snitched on a buyer, which started a cascade of counter-snitching. Many pockets were emptied, some with chalk, but most of the dealers had hidden their chalk and got away with it. Story 32. This girl Danielle convinced my best friend and I, along with some other people, that she could forever change the taste of saliva in our mouth, right? So that our saliva would taste like watermelon or cotton candy or bubblegum, etc. forever. She made us wait a couple days so we could really think about what flavour we wanted in our mouth forever. For example, she'd tell us, "Are you sure you always want everything you eat to have a hint of watermelon?" Anyways, after a couple days, we picked our flavour and she charged us money. I can't remember how much, but it was probably like 50p or something. She made us chew on all this crazy stuff like paper clips, erasers, and other things. Obviously, our saliva never changed flavour and she stopped this, but I worked at Starbucks a couple years ago in my hometown and she came in and didn't even recognise me. And all I could think about was how that girl had me chewing on paper clips. Honestly, the things we believe as a kid, bro. It is ridiculous, isn't it? Like, I would have fully believed that. I would have been chewing the paper clips like, ow, yeah, watermelon. Do you know what I mean? You do just believe ridiculous things, don't you? It's funny. Story 33. I lived in an area with a lot of retiree age people, a lot of which ended up raising their grandchildren. It really isn't a good area. Being older and from a rural area, they still don't trust online sites like eBay or Amazon, for example. So I started ordering people things from those sites for actual money and added a charge for me to be making money off of it. It eventually got shut down because I got someone a USB in the shape of a pistol. It was the size of a USB and clearly a USB, but it didn't matter. The principal actually got the police involved to try and get me in real trouble. During a drug search at my school, a guy got in trouble simply for having a shirt in his truck with Sex Pistols on it. Zero tolerance is a freaking mess. Story 34. Pokemon cards we would hide under playground equipment and trade them because the teachers would take them if they saw them. So we always set up deals in class and created a whole Pokemon card trading network. Story 35. Blow pops from Sam's Club. 25 cents each. Must have made a killing as a 5th grader. Story 36. I used to deal in whiteboard markers for teachers in high school. One teacher had a tendency to hoard them, leaving none for the other teachers. I would take markers from him and provide them to other teachers in need. While there was no formal payment, I was given a little bit more leniency at times, e.g. request to leave the classroom for a moment, etc. Once the marker would start squealing on the whiteboard because it was almost empty, I'd get teachers giving me a nod as if to say, "You got the goods?" I'd then supply them with the marker colour of their choosing. It was actually a lot of fun, and I never heard teachers talk about my systems or chastise me for taking markers. Oh, guys, do not get me started on writing on the whiteboard. Wasn't it the best achievement of the day? It actually was. Like, bless us, we all used to beg to write on the whiteboard, and then we got those electronic whiteboards, and wow, they were the best things going. Writing on them, like, you try and get your writing as neat as possible, wouldn't you? You try and have the best handwriting in the whole year. But when you got the chance to write on that whiteboard in front of everyone and show off your handwriting skills, geez, there is no stopping me, literally. Take a bow. Story 37. Marbles were big at my primary school. Real big. It got to the stage where they were only allowed for 3 months a year, as we would no longer discuss anything but the game we had, or the make we wanted to pay for. That was marble season. Now you could buy a big bag of cat's eyes from the supermarket, but they wouldn't get you far. To play the high-stakes games, you needed a specked egg, a glitter bomb, a tidal wave, or something exotic, but those suckers were pricey. Us poor kids couldn't afford those things, so we secretly gambled our marbles through the year, so when the marble season opened, we had amassed enough marbles to really be ahead of the game. Being caught with marbles outside of marble season was bad. Real bad. One kid got 5 strokes of the cane. This being so, it was a big risk to hide in the shadows of the trees and sling those little glass balls about. Not only did it hone your skills for the season start, but you got good at taking the shot and then acting nonchalant. Marbles were currency. You could trade lunches with them or buy time on playground equipment. There was a good reason they banned marbles at my school. We turned it into some sort of mafia rubbish. Marbles trigger my sex addiction. Like, if I open a door to a room full of marbles, it's amazing, but it's very rare. Sorry, what? Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe for more videos coming daily.